We're in a series that we're calling Finsta. Finsta. And this series is all about living an authentic life in a not-so-real world. Can we all kind of agree that the world sometimes is not so real, right? And that, like, as Christians, we're called to... Oh, I'm messing up. There we go. Thank you. And that as Christians, we're called to be authentic. We're called to be authentic. And some of you know this word Finsta all too well, but some of you I need to kind of explain it to. So let me kind of explain what the word Finsta means. And I learned this since my time with being with you guys at Radiate. Before I came to Radiate, I had no idea what a Finsta was, but you guys have taught me that it's a fake Instagram account. And so in other words, like, you have your main account, right? You have your main Instagram account, your main Facebook account, your main Snapchat account that, like, all of your friends and your family and your acquaintances follow. And this is your account that you show the real you, right? This is your account that you show off the real you. But then not just that, you have a side account as well where it's really just kind of your closer friends and certain people that you really want to see the other real you, right? The other real you. And the problem with this is that when we see that, it's like, well, then who is the real us and who is the fake us? I think sometimes that line gets really, really blurred. And so for the next 3 weeks, I'm super excited. And God has laid this on my heart, and it's been cooking for months and months and months just to look at the scriptures and learn how to live a more authentic life. But understand that I'm not on this stage like preaching that I'm holier than thou. Like, when I was your age, I had the same kind of thing. It just wasn't on the same platform. You see, back when I was a high schooler, when I was a teenager, we had Facebook, right? We had Facebook, and Facebook was where we would be squeaky clean, okay? On Facebook, we'd be squeaky clean because we knew that our parents followed us on Facebook. So we'd be squeaky clean on Facebook, but then Twitter was becoming such a huge thing when I was a teenager, and so on Twitter, we would tweet our real feelings, our real lives, and post real pictures of ourselves and how we really felt in 140 characters or less, and we would do that on Twitter, and that was kind of the real us. But then on Facebook, like, we posted pictures and posts and stuff of the real us. And like, what I'm trying to say is that I personally experienced this when I was in high school. It was like, well, which version of me that I'm portraying is the real me, and which version of myself is kind of a more fake me? And that line gets so blurred, and it's kind of hard to tell. And so this whole conversation about living an authentic life, this is kind of for another night, and this is kind of getting you on the train of thought that we want to be on tonight. And tonight's message is called The Things We Carry. Everyone say, the things we carry. Tonight's message is called The Things We Carry. And to really get us thinking about what this message, what the heart of this message is all about, understand that you guys live in very, very significant times. Understand that you, as teenagers in the 21st century, you live in such remarkable times because you are living right now in the largest communication shift that has ever occurred in human history. You are in the middle of the largest communication shift that has ever occurred in human history. We are now in the digital age, and you guys, my friends, are the guinea pigs. You, my friends, are the guinea pigs, and we have no idea how this social experiment is going to turn out. Let me kind of put this in perspective for you. What happened in 2007? Does anyone know what was invented in 2007? The iPhone. The iPhone, exactly. The iPhone was invented in 2007. Steve Jobs came out with his iPhone out of his pocket, and then from that point on, the world was forever changed, because now there's this phone that not only can you call and text from, but there's this phone that you can access the whole wide web on your phone as well, and you can have all these different platforms. You can have a GPS, all these different things just in the palm of your hands. But understand that it wasn't really until 2011 or 2012 that we really started to see the world change because of the iPhone. And understand what happened in 2011 to 2012 is that now it wasn't just the rich people that could afford iPhones, but now all of a sudden everyone had an iPhone. Everywhere you saw, someone had an iPhone in their hands. Everyone all of a sudden owned this technology. And this world, including us, have been forever changed by the things we carry. The world, including us, have been forever changed by the things that we carry. And now, like, don't get me wrong, there are benefits. Don't get me wrong, there are absolute benefits. The first benefit that comes to mind is GPS, because I am so directionally challenged, it is not funny. Like, if you told me to hop onto I-40 and took I-75 southbound and then took I-20, like, I have no idea. You might as well speak Spanish to me, because I'm going to get lost as all get out. So GPS is obviously a great benefit, right? And you guys in this generation, you guys have never had to deal with the frustration of pulling out a road map and trying to get where you were going and highlight where you were going and all that. You've never had to deal with that frustration because you've always had an iPhone. How about this one? Let's put this one into perspective. Now, since everyone has their own personal cell phone, their own personal iPhone, you can call them directly. You know what I used to have to do if I wanted to call a girl late at night? I used to have to call her home phone. I used to have to call her home phone, and when I would call the home phone, guess who answered? The pops, right? And that's not good. That's not a good situation. So some of you, luckily you don't have to deal with that. How about Google? Google tells us everything we ever need to know in an instant. Even stuff that doesn't really matter. Like there are some really weird and awkward Google searches of things that we really don't ever need to know, but we still search it. But if you ever wanted to know, you can. But we can also communicate with people instantly through text messages, and we often use that technology for dank memes instead of important stuff, but hey, whatever floats your boat. So there are a lot of benefits to iPhones, right, and to social media and smartphones. But there are also, honestly, some things that are not necessarily beneficial to us, right? I've heard that the average American checks their phone more than 50 times a day. More than 50 times a day. And someone kind of boiled this down to how many times per minute. And so that's every 6 minutes you have checked your phone. And so some of you, since I've been talking, have been on your phone. So it's probably a good time to put it up now and to pay attention. I'm calling some of you out, and so you can nudge your best friend if they're on that. But on average, high school seniors, on average, you spend 6 hours a day on your cell phone. On average, the average high school senior with social media and an iPhone spends about 6 hours a day on their phone. So let me kind of boil that down, what you're doing within that 6 hours. You spend 2.25 hours a day texting. You spend 2 hours a day on the internet. You spend 1.5 on gaming and about 0.5 hours on video chat. It's a total of 6 hours per day. Eighth graders. Any eighth graders in the house tonight? Okay, cool. You guys on average spend about 1.5 hours per day texting, another 1.5 hours on the internet, another 1.5 on gaming, and another half on video chat, which totals to 5 hours. And so understand that this is not a thing like of middle schoolers compared to high schoolers. This is across the board thing. And us as a leadership team, we kind of dived into how much time we spend on our phones every day. And we did the screen time app, and it was kind of embarrassing to figure out how much time we spend. I spend typically more than 3 hours a day on my phone, on social media and texting and whatnot. So understand that we're all in the same boat. 97 to 98% of you high schoolers, 97 to 98% of you are on social media, or on Instagram, or on Snapchat, whatever you would call it. And then 79 to 80% of you middle schoolers also are on social media and use it daily. Now, we can admit that most of this time is spent multitasking. We're texting, or we're video chatting, or we're doing whatever while watching Netflix or watching a movie or whatever it may be. But what is this really doing to us? Well, first of all, it's not making us better communicators. It is not making us better communicators at all. And the SAT scores are sadly proving that we're actually becoming more illiterate, right? You see, in the 70s, an average of teenagers, hey, stop making farting noises, that's not cool. In the 70s, a majority of teenagers read books daily, right? And now, in today's age, teenagers, only 16% of you read daily. And when it comes to conversations, we're so used to text message and comment conversations that are done in 140 characters or less that when we're actually face-to-face with another person, we're not very good at holding a conversation, right? Because in text messages and Snapchat and whatnot, there's a time delay, right? Like someone responds to you, and then you have a couple minutes to actually kind of precisely choose exactly what you want to say. But when you're in person, face-to-face with someone, you have to go with the conversation. And in text messages, you can always leave someone on read if you don't want to talk to them, right? On Snapchat, you can always leave someone on read, but when you're face-to-face with someone, it's kind of awkward if you're just all right, that's kind of awkward, right? Here's the thing. Don't think that me being up on this stage means that, I'm the best conversationalist, okay? Again, I want to emphasize that, I'm in the same boat as you guys with social media because I'm not that great of a conversationalist. If there's someone I don't know and I'm talking to them, I really, really struggle to find common ground with them and to really talk to them. You know what I'm saying? And our old youth pastor, Pastor Shane, was really, really good at that because he was from an older generation where social media and smartphones didn't really exist in his teenage years. And so he was really good at holding a conversation with anybody, anytime, but I know that I personally struggle with that. And then whenever I have like a free moment at the doctor's office or in an elevator, these kind of awkward moments, instead of actually choosing to strike up a conversation with someone, what do? I awkwardly avoid them and hope that they don't try to talk to me on my phone. And that's so sad because I'm a pastor talking on a stage to you guys about Jesus and telling you guys to spread the good news about Jesus, but I'm not willing to talk to someone that's right next to me that I don't know. I also struggle with phantom vibration sensation, as do most people in this room. Have you ever had a moment where you feel like your phone was vibrating, where you feel like you got a notification, but then you pull out your phone and there's nothing there? Have you guys ever gotten that? That is called phantom vibration sensation. And that is a case where your brain is literally craving the hit of dopamine that you get whenever you get a notification. Whenever you get a comment, whenever you get a like, whatever you get a hit of dopamine in your brain, and then your brain says, hey, I like that, let's do that again. You want to know what the chemical dopamine is in our brain? That's the same chemical that's released when we get high off of drugs. So understand that social media is like a hit. Every time you get a notification, every time you get a like, a comment, your brain says, hey, that felt good. That released dopamine in my brain. Let's do that again and again and again. I like when people like me. I like when people comment on my post. I like when people are talking about me. I like when people care about me through this screen. So a few of you may be kind of hearing this and saying, so like, what's the harm? What's the big deal? Like, I don't really see what the big deal is yet. Well, I have a short little video to show you, and then we can kind of wrap up tonight's message. All right, all eyes on me. Let's be serious for a couple moments. I know that we're going back to school this week or next week, or maybe some of you are already back in school. I understand that. And I understand that tonight, like there's so many of you here, and I'm so glad to see so many of you here, but I know that in a room that's this big, that there's a lot of baggage here as well. I know that there's so much baggage here in this room tonight, and my sermon in a nutshell is this, that what if the things that we're carrying are responsible for the things that we're carrying, for the baggage that we're carrying? What if these little cell phone devices that we're carrying are responsible for the baggage that we're carrying in our lives? And so my question for you is, what are you carrying? What did you bring here tonight? Maybe it's feelings of loneliness. Maybe it's feelings of depression. Maybe it's feelings of anxiety. Maybe it's a sin struggle, a lust struggle that you're dealing with, and you just feel so defeated because you can't find victory. Maybe you're carrying brokenness or brokenheartedness or anger, resentment, frustration, whatever you're carrying. I know it may sound like a simple oversimplification, but it's not. You see, studies are showing, like stunningly, all the studies are showing the same thing, that the more hours you spend a day on social media networks makes you that much more likely to be depressed. The more hours you spend a day on your cell phone make you that much more likely to be depressed, to struggle with anxiety, to struggle with feelings of loneliness, to struggle with the idea that life is kind of meaningless. And so there's this link that can't be explained away between social media and mental health crisis. There's this link that just can't be explained away. And so understand that the things that you're carrying may be responsible for the things that you're carrying. Let me put this into perspective. Maybe because we're constantly comparing our behind the scenes to everyone's highlight reels, we bring on baggage and we feel like we're not good enough, right? We feel like we're not good enough because everyone just looks so dang happy in their Instagram photos. Everyone looks like they got their life so well put together, and then we look at our own lives and wonder, why don't I have it put together? What is wrong with me? And so we put on that baggage. Or we have this constant feeling that we're always missing out. So this tax on baggage as well. We always feel like we're missing out because we constantly see on social media is that our friends are out there having a great time. Our friends are at that party, our friends are at that event, and we never got invited, and so we feel like we're missing out. We feel even more lonely. We're on social media, and we're constantly posting, or we're constantly seeing other people's posts. And everyone sees us on social media, but no one really sees us. And everyone knows us on social media behind our handle, but then no one really knows us as we're supposed to be known, and so that brings on even more baggage. And maybe we're experiencing bullying on social media. cyberbullying or comments or attacks. And so that brings on baggage of its own. Or maybe it's your struggle if you're a dude in here, and maybe, or even a girl, maybe you're struggling with lust on your phone. And you feel like you cannot fight this battle. You feel like you can't win. And so you bring in this baggage of your own sin struggle. And we've got all this baggage because of the things that we're carrying. All these things that we're carrying are because of the things we're carrying, and we can't stop. And understand that on Sunday night at Radiate Youth, our youth pastor comes to us and he reads the words of Jesus in Matthew 16, where Jesus tells us, whoever wants to be my disciple must what? They must deny themselves. They must take up their cross and follow me. I tell you verses like this all the time because I want you to hear Jesus' words, and I want you to take heed of the call to follow him and to take up your cross. But you can be looking at that and carrying this baggage and saying, Devin, I don't know how to do it. I don't know how you expect me to take up my cross. I've got this baggage. I've got this baggage of loneliness, of depression, of lust, of suicidal thoughts. I've got all this baggage. I don't know how you expect me to take up my cross and follow Jesus. And on other Sunday nights, we may preach the message of Matthew 11:28, where Jesus says, come to me. Jesus is telling you guys, come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you what? I will give you rest. We may go to a passage like this, and then we may think, Devin, that's great and all, but I don't know how to experience this rest. I've got all this baggage, and maybe I've even tried before. I just don't know how you expect me to find rest in him. I've got too much I'm carrying. I've got too much I'm carrying. I want to read 1 Peter chapter 5. 1 Peter chapter 5, as God may be saying to us, cast all your anxiety, cast all your cares on him, on Christ, because he cares for you. This idea here in 1 Peter chapter 5, Peter is telling us, and this is God speaking directly to you wherever you're at tonight. All eyes on me, wherever you're at tonight. This is God speaking directly to you. Whatever baggage you brought in here, whatever you've been carrying, cast it on to him. And understand what this verse is not saying. This verse is not saying cast it on him like a passive way. Just simply lay it down gently at the feet of the cross. That's not what this passage is saying. This passage is not saying maybe give it up, but keep a clenched fist on your baggage because the sin struggle, you're too comfortable in the sin struggle to let go. That's not what this verse is telling you. This verse is telling you that you need to cast off all your anxiety because he cares for you. This verse is telling you that you need to cast off all your depression onto Christ because he cares for you. This verse is telling you that you need to cast off all your loneliness, all your anxiety, whatever you brought in here, whatever you're carrying, to cast it off because he cares for you and he's so much more worth it. That's the call of Christ tonight. That's the call of Christ tonight, is to cast off whatever you brought in here, whatever baggage you've brought in here tonight, to just cast it off to him. Jesus in Matthew 11, verses 29 and 30, this is the rest of the verse. He says, take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find what? You will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. The idea of the yoke here is what they would put over oxen. It's something that would hold the oxen so that it could lead the oxen to plow. So what Jesus is calling you tonight to do is to take his yoke upon you, to let Jesus be the Lord of your life, for Jesus to lead and to direct your life, to let him be the Lord of everything in your life and to lead you, to cast your cares on him because he cares for you, to take up your cross, deny yourself daily, and to follow him. And so in a moment, we're going to worship again. We're going to sing again to the Lord, and then we're going to go into breakout groups. And I want you to be honest and be real about what you're struggling with, what you're carrying. I want you to be real with your leaders and real with other students in your small group. So can we all stand and can we all come up front? Can we sing? Don't worry about who's beside you. Don't worry about what anyone else is doing. Worry about what God is doing in your heart, what God is speaking to you. Come and worship him. Come and cast all your cares, all your anxiety on him because he cares for you.